This is the only time of the year superintendent gets to call the meeting to order because we're going to reorganize it a little bit. But we're going to start with Mrs. Howe's class, third grade, will start leading us with the Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And now we're going to let them, it's been a few months since we had a student presentation, so we're very excited.
Awesome.
Welcome.
Thank you for having us. We were studying figurative language and how to make line breaks and things with poetry. So this book, Hailstones and Halibut Bones, was written in 1961, but it has stood the test of time. And it has fabulous cover poems. So we read them over and over and over and studied them, and we looked at what this author did so that we could take those techniques ourselves and write color poems. And the students worked really hard brainstorming, revising, sharing, reading them over, practicing them in class. And they wrote many color poems, and they picked one of their color poems to share with you today. And if you get a chance before you leave today, everybody is represented here, even if they're not here tonight with their color poems. So do come read them if you get time. And we have our brave person here, Calvin, who is willing to go first. So take a step up right here and remember to be nice and loud.
What green is? Green is the new lace decorating the spring season. Green is the nature the Wampanoag lived in. The crocodiles and gators are both green, like the grass we played in and ran in. The grasshoppers in the summer with green skin, like the pollen swaying in the wind. Happiness swarms me like never before, so come with me, boys and girls, and wonder what other things are also green too, in this busy world full of hullabaloo.
Okay, awesome.
Orange is a carrot, orange is a cheese puff, orange is Tigger, orange is a pumpkin, orange is a goldfish, orange is Garfield, orange is Nemo, orange is orange from Rainbow Friends, orange is Trent from Super Society Number, orange is a traffic gun, orange is a life jacket, orange is a crowd. Pink. Pink is the setting sun, sky, and the roses as they blossom. Pink is soft, slow music and the sound of birds chirping in the morning. Pink likes to whisper that spring is here. Pink feels like safety and a light breeze. Pink feels soft like rose petals. Pink tastes like cream in a Valentine's Day chocolate and sweet berries as you bite in. Pink is the little sister to purple and the daughter to red. Pink is juicy fruits, scents, and the smell of spring flowers. Pink is someone sweet. Pink believes in light and love, kindness, and friendship. Pink. Pink is joyful. Pink is bubblegum. Pink is a raspberry. Pink is a piece of colored paper. Pink is a light rose growing in a vase. Pink is a flamingo that ate a lot. Pink is pretty. Pink is an eraser. Pink tastes like a sweet cherry. Pink is caring. Pink is sweet. Always a pretty sky. Always like your sunshine rays. Always a nice day. Snowing. Blueberry baking in the oven. Blue is calm like the ocean. Like the eyeshadow on an island. Blue is a hyacinth purple. Orange. Orange is a sunset that's very peaceful. Orange are flames from a jumping fire. Orange is the Bahamas and chilling on the beach. Orange is flavorful Mexican food with amazing tacos. Orange acts fun and funky and likes to play at any time. Orange is very energetic. Blue. Blue is the sky on a sunny day. It is Roadrunner from Looney Tunes. It is a tokay gecko resting in a cave. Blue is the water. Blue is the water in the ocean washing up on shore. It is sweet blueberries in the summer. Blue is sad. It is depression. It is a whale exploring the ocean. A blue raspberry icy in the sun. Orange. Orange is the sun on a sunny day. Orange is a tangerine. Orange feels tropical and likes to dance. He likes his rhythm. Orange is a good sport about things. He is the excitement of the rainbow. Orange is a beautiful color. Pink rosy cheeks when you are sick. Pink is shouting loudly pink rules. It's the color of tulips and a cat's nose. Pink is a happy sweatshirt and a sunset at the beach. Pink is pretty. Pink is a model. Pink tells purple she is prettier. Pink is beautiful.
Wonderful job, very proud. Excellent job. Thank you.
Thank you so very much. Awesome. So even before we start to reorganize, we should run through introductions because we have new faces. It's been a while since we had two new faces at once table. So if we could start down with Jen and just run down with introductions and then we'll get rolling.
I'm Jenna Ventatula. Mary Bridget Burns. Jackie Cakley. Pam Kavinsky. Kimberly Goodwin.
Deb Boyd, Superintendent.
Jordan Barrasso, Assistant Superintendent. Kathy Kelly, Principal Burgess.
Welcome. So we do need to reorganize, and we've got a number of positions I'll kind of update folks through as we go through. First and foremost, I do get to take nominations for chair for the next year. Are there any nominations for chair?
I'd like to nominate Sarah. So through, and can you tell us what all of the
Well,
positions are and
Okay.
a description of
Oh, you
them?
mean all together? Okay, so chair is chair. We'll be looking for chair, vice chair. So chair oversees the meeting itself and is first point of contact usually for the superintendent. In the chair's absence, there's vice chair, which we will also vote. There's a position secretary, which is the lightweight on the very rare occasion, maybe once every 10 years, there be some document that a secretary needs to sign. It doesn't mean the secretary takes the minutes. We have a minutes taker who, of course, as luck would have it, would be absent tonight. So Jody and I are pinch hitting on that, but we usually have Karen who does a fantastic job of taking the minutes. So it is almost in name only, but officially, occasionally there are legal documents that want a chair signature and a secretary. It's been a number of years. Then in addition to that, we do have a Tantascwa rep, which is someone from here. Each of the 5 elementary schools sends one up to the Tantascwa that does sit at the table, has voting rights. Tantascwa is another monthly meeting for just their regular meeting, which is the 3rd Tuesday of the month, except during school vacations. On top of that, they have 6 subcommittees that each member is usually on 1 or 2 subcommittees, and they meet at various times of the year and there are some that are pretty active, some of the subcommittees, and some are just a couple of times a year. I'd say on average most of them probably meet at least quarterly, but a couple meet monthly. So that would be the Tantascwa rep. And then we'll get to kind of a bucket of the Union 61 voters. So twice a year on average, except when things need a little extra, we have a joint meeting of Tantascwa and all Union 61 school committee members. So Union 61 as a voting group, they get to vote on the hiring, firing of superintendent, setting of central office budget, and evaluation of superintendent. That is the only legal reason Union 61 exists, is for those couple of things. But what we do, because we get together twice a year, they're posted as joint meetings, Tantascwa votes and Union 61 as a group votes. Because one of the 5 towns only has 3 members, to make that Union 61 vote fair and equitable, only 3 members of each of the other 4 have, quote, voted. So everyone comes, everyone participates in the conversation, but each of the 4 other elementaries have appointed 3 voters. Their votes are the ones that, when we take the vote for Union 61, will count first. We have been setting up a 3 voters and then an alternate 1 and an alternate 2. So those that have 5 can always at least have the 3 voting voices there.
Can I ask a question about the Tantasco rep? Can we do an alternate for that
No.
also? No, you cannot.
No, that's a fantastic bylaw.
Got it.
The Tantascwa rep gets to vote on everything.
Yeah, it's just-
They're one of 18 votes up there.
Okay.
Yeah. Alrighty. We don't need seconds, we just seek nominations and then vote based on the nominations that we get. So for starters, are there any nominations for chair?
I nominate Sam.
Are there any other nominations? Hearing all in favor of Sam for chair? Alrighty, we got all in favor, and now technically, Sam, you can take over and take nominations for the rest, but we'll take the notes and I'll help you through it.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
So the next is going to be for vice chair. I would like to go ahead and actually nominate Gemma Ventitulo for vice chair. Do I need to call for second?
Yeah,
Sorry.
not a second, but are there any other nominations?
Or
If there's
there-
more
okay.
than one, then we need to
Sure.
take 2 votes.
Are there any other nominations? Hearing none, all in favor?
There you go. Then our favorite vote, the secretary.
Okay, for secretary, I'd like to actually nominate Jackie Cakley for secretary. You're welcome. Are there any other nominations? Hearing none, all in favor?
Cruising
Sorry.
along. Tantascwa rep.
Okay, before I nominate anyone, does anyone want to volunteer for the Tantasco rep? I'll volunteer. Okay, I will go ahead and nominate Whitney Goodwin for the Tantasco rep. Are there any seconds? Or actually, let me call that. All in favor?
Excellent.
Perfect.
And then we could talk it through a little bit, if you could come, the kind of bunches of 3. So here's my suggestion, when we're looking at the 3 voters, it has been, I don't think it's in the bylaw, but it's always been tradition that one of the 3 be the chair. I would suggest the first 3 not be Whitney, because she's already giving you a Sturbridge voice on the Tantascwa side. So given that, you could kind of suggest a batch of 3. You can even kind of talk through the whole docket with a first alternative and a second alternative, and we can
Sure.
go with that.
Before I do that, are there any other volunteers for you? Okay, sure. So you're already on it. I will go ahead and nominate Jackie Cakley, Mary Bridget Burns, and myself
As the first
as
3.
the first 3.
Can I be like the last alternate?
Way last, okay.
Yes,
With
sure.
Whitney
Like
as
Whitney
first
just
alternate.
for the conflict.
And
And
Jenna
Jenna as
Ventitulo
second.
Is everyone okay with that?
I think the chair can
Suggestions, all in
actually
favor?
point
Okay,
that
that's
into
what I'm
the
doing.
consent. Yep, yep.
Okay, so I
Excellent.
think we're good with that, is that correct?
Yep, that's
Okay.
good. The only other thing is legally, we have to legally post and have a school choice hearing. To give a couple of minutes, if anyone wants to come and talk to you about wanting to be, so we're gonna vote a little bit later on. MGL, DESE and National Laws has you, by default, you are a school choice district unless you vote not to be. So we've gotta make sure every year by June 1st, we take the vote, especially if you don't want to be. But we also have to have a hearing in case anybody wants to make a case for differently, for or against. If anyone in the public wants to speak on it, now would be the time. Seeing none,
I will close the public hearing.
and then we'll take the vote a little later.
Yeah. Yep. And so we are on to the approval of minutes from April 6th. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes from our April 6th meeting?
Motion to approve.
Do I have a second? All in favor?
Yeah, we should have the two that weren't here. abstain. Yeah.
Who was first? I'm sorry.
Jackie, and then Jenna.
Yeah, let us just sit on.
I know.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. The nose.
I've been in that place, it's not fun.
And now we're on to the financial report.
Okay, so you have pretty much the most recent in your packet. For those that are new, we're not gonna panic. It is, however, not usual that you have a report that has a negative. But again, for those that are new, we have had a very tight, challenging year, and we have put in, I think in my 22 years, it might have been 2 other times that we needed to put in an article for the special town meeting coming up in June to ask for more money to get through the year. Finance Committee and Board of Selectmen are well aware of it and supportive. The problems we had this year is the very end of last year and then over the summer, beginning of this year, we had a number of Sturbridge students go to outplacements to private special needs schools that were not in the budget and are really breaking the bank. Between that and our utilities problems, usually other areas you could absorb it. We have not been able to absorb it. We knew it early on. We've had conversations with Finance Committee, especially because it then dominoed into our very large ask for next year's budget. So that all being said, we know we have an article for the additional $200,000. So that is why usually at this point in time, you don't see a negative number. Right now with everything spent or encumbered for the rest of the year, we're at a minus 73. So we're definitely looking like we're gonna be pretty tight and that we're gonna need at least some of that article. We're definitely on the night of town meeting gonna take a look and see if we can do it for any less, but that is the reason that negative is showing. That's not usually the case. That all being said, I would say we are probably right about where we thought we were gonna be right now, so we'll just keep on moving forward and just squeeze through this school year's budget. Any questions on it?
So, rural aid and grant, the foundation grant money is now at
We've now
0.
spent it all.
I was just wondering where that got put back in, do you know?
Well, it's not, you can spend either of those on anything to do with it, so any bills that normally would have been here, probably transportation bills, or anything, which is pretty much what I told the bookkeepers, is just anything that you would be putting to the general budget for the last month, put here, spend that money down, because that money goes away June 30th, and that was gonna help us. That was part of why we only asked for 200,000 as opposed to 400,000 or 500,000.
And at the last meeting, we had talked about the plan to apply for emergency circuit breaker
Yeah,
funds.
all I have been told is that we are going to get some, we just don't know what it is yet. So it's a tough situation because I think the state needs to process all applications. And while it might look like we have $150,000 that we could qualify for, until the state knows exactly what the total pot is and what everybody asked for, because if they qualified for more than they have a pot of money, they start whittling it down and distribute equity. So I'm hoping we know by town meeting, because that could be something that we could reduce that article. Yep,
It's possible it will be after town meeting.
it is.
Specifically before July 1.
For July 1?
Before July 1?
Yeah, yes, because it's extraordinary relief from current year budget.
Right, yeah.
So yes, we should.
Between June 1 and July 1. you'll
Yep,
know.
yep, yep. So keep you posted.
Just one other question that I had is about the special ed transportation line, which is on page 2. So, last month we had a budget balance of negative 32,000, and now we have positive 50,000 there.
Yeah.
Did money get moved, or is that maybe?
No, you know what, I think that's actually probably the big, third quarter, a big bulk of third quarter was probably paid from that, from one of the grants.
Okay.
I think we still will use around 200,000 for that fourth quarter payment. So I think that encumbrance is probably pretty accurate. But it ebbs and flows.
Are there any other questions? Okay, I think that we are on to communications.
And that honestly didn't even need to be there, the fact that we just did post to have the hearing. You've had the hearing, so there's no other communication.
Okay. When do you want me to take that?
I'm gonna, under my report, under superintendent's report, I'll ask for the
So
motion.
we'll go to the principal's report?
Hello, everyone. As you can see, our enrollment is at 888 students at this point in time. We do have some information that I'll share about incoming kindergarten registration. But recognitions, the second after-school enrichment program will begin on May 9th. Thank you to Tammy Edmonds for running an amazing program for the Burgess students. She has like huge enrollment, so there's definitely a need. I think she said 250 students earlier today. The annual Memorial Day celebration will be held on Friday, May 26th. It's at 1:30 and you are all invited. MCAS starts again. We have MCAS math testing on May 9th and May 10th with math is for grades 3 through 6, and then science, technology, and engineering on May 16th and 17th for grade 5. Professional Development Day, we have one on Friday, May 12th, and that day is primarily focused on the preliminary steps for class placement for next year. Kindergarten, we hosted our kindergarten screening on Tuesday and Wednesday. We currently have 87 students fully registered for kindergarten. That's about where we stand, projecting for a class size of between 100 and 110. Overall, because we do get a lot of late kindergarten registrations. Thank you to Jamie Desjardins and the entire team for organizing and hosting the event. 6th grade, and we may be hearing them shortly. It's the 5th and 6th grade band will be attending the Great East Music Festival on May 19th. They are practicing with all of the Union 61 schools, so there's quite a few of them in there, so we may be able to catch a little bit of their performance. The 6th grade will be going to Boundless Adventures. That's the rope course out in Berlin, Mass. on May 31st. The choral concert will be held on June 2nd and the band concert on June 8th. And Burgess Step Up Day, which is when we have our children meet their future teachers, will happen on June 16th. There are some tremendous updates from all of the grade levels and the departments, so please at your leisure take some time and review those. And we do have the important dates for the rest of the school year as well.
On your important dates, you have a school improvement meeting listed.
I
Can you
do.
just tell me, is that a committee?
It's
or
a
what is-
school improvement committee, yeah, but we're required by statute that we have a school improvement council. We meet on the second Monday of each month. It is comprised of equal representation from the school and community, so parents and others. And primary focus of the School Improvement Council is to actually help develop the school improvement plan and to provide input into or suggestions for the budget. But we go through the whole, what's going on in the school, and we look for their feedback.
And then the other question I had was just about the math Olympics and what that math Olympics, what that entails.
I have our math coach, Lynn Nichols, over there, and if Lynn, would you actually want to give us a little bit of?
Sure, yeah, it's like a mock Olympics where, we just do, the stations. We're gonna do it outside. We did it outside last year. It worked out really well. We do it every year with 6th graders, and, we do 2 pods at a time, and they just do, different stations on the metric system. They might do like, the javelin throw. They have to estimate first and then measure it. We do discus, just different activities like that. And then we have medals at the end. They're our winners.
Thank you. It's a great event.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions? Okay, moving on to the superintendent's report.
Okay, so the first, as noted there, is given your status for a number of years and no questions or comments from the public around school choice, you've got very good class sizes. We don't have the need or suggestion to be a school choice school. So I recommend that you vote to continue to not accept school choice students for the next school year.
Okay, with that said, I'm going to make a motion to opt out of school choice for Burgess Elementary School for the 2023-2024 school year. Any discussion? All in favor?
All right, other than that, just sort of updates. Added to the list of dates, because Mrs. Pelly went into May, which is finished May up, but there's a couple things to know before we move in. Actually, our next meeting, our school committee meeting in June, what we have done typically is not meet the first Thursday, but meet the day of the town meeting, which is usually pretty close there. And in case there's any kind of votes that we want to take and fill in the moderator, we have in the past moved our meeting to the high school cafeteria and had it right before town meeting. That would be June 5th at 6 o'clock, which we will do unless anyone has an issue or concern with that. That happens to be another half day where hopefully staff will be getting a little bit of a taste of power school training. So those of you with children, remember that's a half day. That was not on the original calendar. The other date for June will be, there actually will be a joint meeting on Tuesday the 13th. So that'll be at 6 o'clock. That'll be at the junior high in the cafeteria. Usually May or June, the May or June joint meeting is for the purpose of evaluating the superintendent, discussing next year's goals, and if there are any other changes. I'm not seeing any in the cafeteria, and I'm sorry, in the calendar. Those are the main issues. This year also, hopefully on that agenda, will be the recommended appointment for the next Director of Business and Finance. So
Junior high or is that?
it's the junior high, yeah. The only time we had those joint meetings at the high school was during COVID when we were spreading out in a very big cafeteria, but we can pull it off at the junior high. So if you can put those notes in your calendar. Other than that, Mrs. Kelly talked about all the things going up here, and we do have a PD day coming up soon. Power School we are moving ahead with. We've been training a number of pockets of folks. At the high school, they've been working on the schedule in Power School. We've been working with admin assistants to train because they'll be the earliest users.
Yes. And you all received the notification to
Did
log
they get it
in
here?
and
Okay.
to see your.
To
It's not
kind of
much
register as a
not
parent.
much to see at this point. but
Right.
just
To get your parent portal going and register. If you did
Yes.
not receive that, let us know. So we're starting to push things out, and
And the form wasn't there, but I guess I told them.
Yeah, and actually, there were just a few of those slips. It was actually surprising.
awesome. That is it for me right now.
I think we wanted to, I don't know if you want me to do this at this point, but we wanted to talk to you about the turf field.
Oh, a little bit, yeah, just, so, we know very little about what the
Right.
potential plan is regarding turf, other than a whisper that it was suggested in the fall that we might want to consider, the town might want to consider. Cannot be done without school committee approval, so I will ask Annie to come and join us. We will probably have to schedule a separate meeting, but I'll schedule it when we can get Annie and Paul.
Right, so we did discuss this at an earlier meeting.
Yes, we did.
The town, it was presented to the select board earlier, and there was a vote to approve $60,000 to go towards a feasibility study, for lack of a better word. Is that a correct statement from your end? Yeah. Yeah. So that is actually in motion, but again, it's to find out all the questions that you have
Right.
would be answered through that process, is my understanding.
But that process will include coming to us and asking
Correct.
questions.
Right.
So
okay.
it's really at the very early, it's gone nowhere other than there's money to conduct a feasibility study.
Right, so
And again, part of the feasibility study has to be talking to us about what the potential impact to
Restrictions,
our
yeah.
operations would be.
right, because my concern would be that, like the Tantasco Fields, the town needs
Sure.
a special permission to use them.
Yeah.
And we wanna make sure, well, I want to,
Yep.
it's my opinion, that I wanna make sure that, we can still come up here and use these fields, even if they're converted to turf.
Well, and those are things we have to
Correct.
talk about, and
Yeah.
I may be,
Things like that, we
Exactly.
need to ask
Exactly.
about the utilization.
You know.
Yep.
So will it come back before us as a vote that we need to approve?
absolutely.
Okay.
You control the grounds, they cannot move forward with anything without your approval. So as they're coming up with potential recommendations, they should be communicating with us.
And it's my understanding that the feasible study is actually the
The
plans.
plan, right.
Okay, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
But that you'll have something that you can
Okay.
actually look at. Yep.
And then we'll see, and again,
And the $60,000 to do the feasibility was already approved.
yes.
And we're gonna have a
Okay.
special.
Not from us, we didn't get
The
it.
town.
Oh,
Yeah, that's what I'm
Mhm.
talking about. And so we are gonna, I believe, it's gonna go to town meeting in December to go forward. After
But
it gets
if-
approved by, if it
If
gets approved
we
by
like the
mayor,
plan, if
like
we're
it.
okay with it, there are huge capital I, capital F's in there, and as a Sturbridge resident, I get to say.
Yes, you do.
I get to just personally chime in. I'm not sure that that is necessarily gonna be the best for us and the community, so we need to keep asking a lot of questions. The community clearly needs more fields. I don't know that conversion is going to help the problem, but we can talk through and see. Cause if it's a win-win and can help us as well as the greater community, awesome. But you control the field, so they could not move forward with the project without your approval.
And it would be your opinion or understanding that they may come to us before a plan is finalized, like if we have.
I will communicate that really should be happening. They should be
Okay.
coming to us as they are evaluating the feasibility.
Right.
Cause
Because
part of the
if they-
feasibility is, would school committee even consider letting us? Yeah.
I don't want them to come up with a whole plan that maybe that,
Yeah.
or we just know ahead of time,
Yep.
we're gonna say no to that, so
Yep.
come up with a different plan, present that to us.
Got it.
In conversation, it was very clearly stated that the financial impact could not fall on the school.
Right,
Mhm.
right. I have one more question that just escaped me. Now, as far as the usage of that field, and I guess this will be revisited when it comes to us, would that be up to the administration?
That's
the
how it's
school
done
committee?
now.
Okay,
That is how it's
okay.
done now.
So
Any utilization of any of the Burgess property, whether it be the gymnasiums or the fields, is approved through administration.
Okay,
Mhm.
perfect. Okay. Is there anything else for Mrs. Ford? And now we're moving on to public access. Any public like to speak? No? Okay. We're moving on to subcommittee reports. We
The
did-
only subcommittee is negotiations on a couple on teachers and bus drivers, so we'll go into executive session to update you folks on that.
Perfect. Unfinished business?
You had no
Oh, did I?
Tasco rep.
Oh, I counted that as a subcommittee because
Mhm.
Yeah,
Kristen was
yeah,
there,
well,
so-
and yeah, so
Sorry.
thank goodness we've reorganized, because, so now I'm gonna need to remember what we did. This is a funky thing because Sturbridge's election is before the Tantasco meeting. It happened once a year. We didn't have 17 votes at the table, 18 votes, we had 17, because, your former rep was not at the meeting, but we did meet last week. Lost track of my dates, so Tantascwa, they opened up, oh boy, I'm having a brain freeze on, we introduced the technical outstanding student. His last name, it will come to me as we talk. Heron, but I can't talk his last name. And we also bid farewell to Pat Barnacle, who started serving here, then went up to Tantasco, and after 17 years chose not to run. And the rest of the meeting was going through some policies. It was otherwise a fairly short meeting, talking a little bit about the next month's activities and our seniors. We have 2 seniors at the table, student reps, that are absolutely acknowledging senioritis has set in, and they're getting ready for their senior activities, and graduation will be before we meet again. Graduation is the weekend of the 3rd or 4th. Hopefully it's the 3rd, but the rain date is the 4th.
Okay, now we'll move on to.
We've had a couple of months without policies, so there was no one finished. And now new. And I'll try and run through, even though Jody Barassa is the policy guru, she is actually the administrator that works with the subcommittee. But we're gonna go through these, and there is one I'm gonna pull as we go through it. So you've got a handful, as I think I said before, unfortunately, the bylaw subcommittee up at Tantasco worked for, I think, more than 2 years. I think it took more than 2 years to go through every policy, A through J. And just as they finished, your organization, MASC, is now doing it. So MASC goes through it, they push out, we take a look at it and say whether we feel like we should also make the changes they're recommending. But what you'll see the next few months are right from MASC's recommendations. So this batch is really just around the process of building budget and managing budget and general processing. So DB, as you can see, is just MASC's recommendation to add a couple of paragraphs that sort of describe how foundation budgets are built and the financing of it, and that minimum contributions are required, and what goes towards your foundation budget, which is not transportation or debt costs. So that's just an explanation there. DBC, as you can see, just housekeeping of our 5 towns. We have some board of selectmen, we have some select boards, so we're just covering it all and cleaning it up. DBD, for those who haven't been here, typically the Tantasco bylaw subcommittee, when they go through this, they tend to want to stick to policy is the rules of the road, period, amen. They tend to clean out, which they're doing here, general statements and philosophy. They don't believe philosophy should be in a policy. Here's our policy. So that's all that's doing, is in the vein of that, is eliminating a paragraph there that is kind of more philosophical. And then confirming the old school, that the budget planning process, it's really the superintendent or designee that kind of tries to get all of these things ready to then present to school committee. DD, again, sort of cleaning up anything that might just be a little word and just in accordance of law. When we get grants, we report it to you. We include lists to you folks of grants, expenditures, and gifts. Usually if it's a gift, we have to formally accept it and then have the responsibility to report to you how we're going to spend it. DGA goes along with the sheet that you all just signed, the confirmation that you have the ability to have any one of you sign the warrants, even if it's just one of you over the summer. Sometimes is when it's, right now all of you could sign it if you choose. But what's happened the last couple of years is it's been sort of a, who drew the short straw tonight? But they're all here for you all to look at whether you choose to sign or not. In the summer, having a single signer certainly is helpful when we're hunting down trying to find just one, as opposed to back when we needed a majority of the committee to sign them. So that is just codifying what we are doing. DI is really just a reference change there, I guess. So the SC is really torturing us to suggest changing that. DIE lays out the legal requirements to have annual audits. They kind of, for Sturbridge, it comes through the town hall, who sets up the auditors, and in addition to that, there are other reports that we need to file each year. both went out, so I'm trying to see which order. Did I skip it already? Okay. So DJE, I'm going to put on hold and we'll bring back to you because I believe this is actually written a little incorrectly and we tweaked it a little bit with a misunderstanding. The law for schools, not for towns, which is very interesting, that the Municipal Relief Act raised the threshold for schools only up to 100,000 to get just 3 quotes, where it used to be at 50,000. Much disappointment to the municipalities because they have just as much difficulty putting together bid packages, etc. But this is written, and we originally thought that and only anything over 50,000 up to 100 needed 3 quotes, and anything under did not need quotes at all. I believe it's really that we continue with the 10,000 threshold. Anything under 10,000 is best business practice. Anything over 10,000 needs 3 quotes, all the way up to the ceiling now of 100 instead of 50. So I don't think that this policy says it that way clearly, so we're going to put this on hold.
If I may add, so you're saying that MASC has read it incorrectly?
No, I think when we edited it.
In 21?
Yes. Yeah. So we're just going to come back with a different, but we'll update it.
So, Deb, when I looked at the MASC, their updates from 2022, they were still listing over 50,000.
Yeah, they haven't updated all of theirs because it absolutely changed. I think last fall was when the decision came out. Yeah. Yeah. I will follow up with them too and see if there's an updated, that they have failed to update also. And then the last DK is just again updating on the payment procedures, which we all go through. We go through them. We confirm the payments we submit. That bold kind of in the middle there is confirming we get you the warrants. So you've got a document that is the warrant with the list, and attached is all the invoices, and we will send that to the town hall for payment. Just goes a little bit more. And on your listing there, on the agenda, is DBG and DBJ. What we have agreed is that we try to save every tree we can, and we don't print a policy that we have reviewed. So that means it was reviewed, there's no changes recommended, it's still out on the website if you wanna go peek at what it is. We're not gonna make any changes, so we didn't print it and bring it to you, but wanted you to know.
You're not taking it.
Correct, correct. So I'm looking for a vote individually or collectively, and we should be able to collectively say, I'm looking for a vote to amend on first reading policies DB through DK with the exception of DJE.
So I will make a motion to amend upon first reading policies DB, DBC, DBD, DD, DBA, DI, DIE, and DK. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion?
Who was the second?
Mary. Okay, all in favor? Oh, sorry, you do.
Sorry, I did have a question. Okay. On the budget planning, so DBD. So MASC has a statement that school councils are consulted in developing a budget, which it sounds like that does happen, but our policy doesn't state that. Does it need to be stated, or it does not need to be written in there?
I think if it's on MASC.
So we talked about that as we reviewed, because it's a reg of the school council, it doesn't need to be cited twice. It actually takes the seat of the regulations instead.
Okay, on audits, DIE. Just wondering why the audit is only sent to the chair of the school committee instead of the whole school committee.
I think the assumption regulation wise is that when it's sent to the chair, that the chair will will share.
It goes on the agenda.
And I will say, this also, this language is also referring to, we never get an individual audit from the town. The school is part of the audit. The district gets an individual audit. So when the district completes its audit, Tantascwa, we have them available at school meetings.
Okay.
We don't, auditors come, they do what they need to for schools as part of the annual town audit. So we never receive the full audit. The only thing that I receive is the end of year report, the compliance, which for single school districts only happens every 3 years. Thank goodness, because otherwise I'd be doing 6 every year, and they're pretty hardy. So we do get that, and every 3 years, you know, I think at least the last 3 or 4 rounds, there wasn't a finding at all. It's kind of just a small audit looking to make sure. It really takes every single bit on our finance reports and puts it on the state report. And then an auditor comes in and says, did you really report it right?
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's that end of year report.
So
compliance report.
we don't have anything that's separate from the town's audit?
No.
And we wouldn't review
No,
the
anything
entire
that we
thing?
get separate from the town would be shared with the chair, but would end up being in your communications. Yeah.
And then on payment procedures, DK, so the new wording says the majority of the committee will be responsible for review and approval. That's not really our current process.
Where are you on that? Sorry.
In the bolded
Yep.
new section, the second sentence there.
No, the problem is there's a difference between the payment procedures and the signature, which was what was there earlier. It's one signature. Is that really you think that's a regional one? Let's put that one on hold then. Okay, that might be specific to the region.
Also, this doesn't really matter, but the legal reference 7116A is only about regional school districts, so
So
that's
then you're in,
only-
that's
why.
for sure.
Yep.
That's what,
Yeah.
yeah, that's for sure. Yeah.
So does that even, it won't go back, right?
No, so we're gonna amend the minutes and not
So I don't have to
include that in here.
do it again?
We got
Okay.
it.
Thank you.
So,
So is it being put on hold and it will come back to us, or it's not? a
It
It
policy
probably
that
won't,
says-
but we confirm that,
It
it
doesn't-
probably won't.
Okay. Alright, and then on DBG, the MASC policy just has a line about what sort of like leads up to that final budget presentation, that school committee adopts the budget by simple majority, which our policy does not say anything about that. Is that referenced somewhere else, or should that go into this?
I don't, BBG?
DBG, which, oh sorry, it was the one we were reviewing.
Yeah, so we didn't, yeah,
It was a review.
so it's not in the packet, but I mean, I can come back and print it next time if you want.
Okay. Yeah, you can look. So this is our current policy. And this is the MASC recommendation, which had a statement about, so ours is basically only this line,
Right.
but they have a statement here that subject to adoption by school committee budget adopted by simple majority, which really is the first step in the budget adoption process.
And all of those are the legal.
I was gonna, do we need to?
The MGL defines how,
If we source it, then
there are legal references at the bottom of the
Right.
policy too.
Right, so there-
That should be referenced.
Right.
MASC and legal.
Yes, that is referenced there, but.
Okay.
Do you want her to?
so Tantascwa is not recommending, and they voted no changes. If you want to recommend changes, you absolutely can do it on yours, because unfortunately they are sitting up there as 6 separate books of policy. So if you would like to recommend changes, we could update it for next month.
So we have this statement at the bottom, we have this part here that help needs to us first. And adopted by something.
It's
Okay, so we put that on hold for next time.
And you let me know if you want something changed, and we can put it in.
Well, so technically, I think we still have to take a vote on the policies that I made a motion on, and then we can come back to these. But we
Oh, okay.
we
Yeah,
don't
well,
do
those
that
two
yet,
there are
right?
reviewed, so you don't, your vote doesn't have to have anything to do with that
Okay.
review. We're letting you know that the Tantascwa committee reviewed those two.
Okay.
So that's sort of kind of, we can go completely separate for Sturbridge, so you let me know if you'd like to
Okay.
put that one on next time, and what changes you would like.
So the vote would be DG to DIE, and then everything underneath that. Oh, I'm sorry.
Right.
Yes,
Yes.
yes, because we're gonna
DJ
try
is
to
not
take
DA.
out.
Yep.
Yep,
Yeah.
yep.
Okay, so, I'm going to modify my motion to amend upon first reading DB, DBC, DBD, CD, DGA, DI, and DIE. Do I have a second? Is there any discussion? All in favor?
I have no other new business, I don't know if anyone else does.
Any?
And then,
Should we do roll call?
yeah, so you would read, you would actually read that language, so we make it clear we're going in, and the MGL reason, right, so if you read that exact language, Sam, then we will take a roll call.
Okay. Request to enter an executive session under MGL Chapter 30A, 21A3 to discuss strategy with respect to collective bargaining or litigation if an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the bargaining or litigating position of the public body and the chair so declares. The committee will adjourn from executive session.
And then you need your roll call.
Roll call vote. Sam Kavinsky, yes. Jackie Gilmore, yes.
Mary Bridge Burns, yes. John Mastriani. Nico Linda.
And we'll recess for a minute or two while
Sure.
your cameras break down.
Thank you.